I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
People's lives: washing, ironing, shopping, cooking, walking, gardening, cycling, travelling on the train, parties, children at school, happy people. They are worried about the war, listening to the radio. Suddenly, war, bang, flash, bombs, sirens, run. Into the shelter, quickly. Crash, bang, boom. The Germans are here. What are they bombing? Is it the factories, or is it our home? Outside again. People screaming, crying, shouting, running home. Devastation.
Has been at any time in its long, eventful, famous history. And it is no hackneyed trope of speech to say that they mean to conquer or to die. What a triumph the life of these battered cities is over the worst that fire and bomb can do.
My granddad told me when he was a little boy in Southport, he looked out of his bedroom window and saw a red glow in the sky. That was Liverpool getting heavily bombed. Nana said that she remembered her mum telling her that her mum's best friend was killed in an air raid on Liverpool. This made me very sad.
When the lights go on again,
when there were no air raids, life was difficult for people.
and the boys are home again, all over the world, and rain or snow is all.
There wasn't much food. Everyone had to have a ration book to tell them how much food they could have each week. My granddad remembers his mum having ration books and having to pick them up from a central point. Children didn't have many sweets, so had to make their own. My grandma told me she used to make mint out of dried milk, dried egg and mint with her grandma. Friends of my grandma and granddad told me what rationing was like. They only had a small allowance of food, like meat, cheese and butter. They said this was fair for everyone. Some people were lucky and had animals for meat and eggs. If you lived in the country, you would probably grow your own vegetables. But everyone was encouraged to do this. In towns, cities and the country, they needed to dig for victory. They couldn't waste food though, because there was still so little food for everybody. The Germans were sinking supply ships with their U-boats, which were submarines. My great-granddad was in the Norwegian Merchant Navy trying to get supplies to people. My nana told me that when he was sailing in the war, he had been on 2 ships which had been torpedoed by the U-boats. He still finds it difficult to talk about. When me and my family were on holiday, we had a picnic at the top of the White Cliffs of Dover. When I was sat looking out at the big sky and English Channel, I imagined Spitfires and other planes in the sky and ships in the water battling each other. I remember about the Battle of Britain and thought how dangerous it must have been. The pilots and sailors must have been brave.
The gratitude of every home in our island, in our empire, and indeed throughout the world, except in the abodes of the guilty, goes out to the British airmen who, undaunted by odds, unwearied in their constant challenge and mortal danger, are turning the tide of the world war by their prowess and by their devotion. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
We went to see the wartime tunnels at Dover Castle. In the underground hospital, it was like we travelled back in time. I heard a story about an injured pilot and how the nurses and doctors saved his life in very difficult conditions. Everyone around Dover and the English Channel was in danger. The Germans have very big guns.
At the moment we can see 2 bright flashes, 3 flashes from the other side of the channel, and 3 great puffs of smoke, another 4th. And any moment now the shells will be arriving over this side. 4 columns of smoke going up on the far side as the convoy goes past us here. And there's the first explosion. And the second. Just a very short way in front of us in the sea here, tremendous column of water goes up. There's a third bomb just come down now. And there's one, there's one more to come, and there it is. All those four were completely wide of the convoy, as they've all been so far, as the convoy steams past us slowly here. From each of those places where you heard those tremendous explosions, there's a great swirl of water goes up, a cloud of smoke and spray in the air still. It's an extraordinary feeling as you see the flash right over on the far side of the coast, and then the little column of smoke goes up from it. And then we wait for the explosion over this side.
The Nazis were planning to overcome the British. So, we had to go to them. Many thousands of soldiers crossed the Channel to fight in Europe. My other granddad told me about his dad who crossed 13 times during the war. He volunteered for service when the war started in 1939. His dad didn't tell him everything that happened to him, but he did remember one story when he was in Belgium. A V-1 rocket called a Doodlebug landed close to him, killing his friend and blowing him through the air. Luckily, he wasn't seriously hurt. My granddad also told me about his uncle named Alfred Dale. This is Alf. He's 11 years old in this school photo. He would not have known that almost 20 years later he would be fighting for his country. Alf was in an army unit called the 1st Golden Highlanders. And on the 1st of May 1945 they were in France and about to attack a very strong German army. My granddad told me the story of how Alf got a very special medal after this battle. This is the story from the War Office record. Alf was a corporal and was commanding a group of soldiers which had been ordered to capture a place called Barchel. In the middle of the night, Alf and his soldiers went to a place called Orel and captured it from the Germans. They were then counterattacked from all sides. They were in big trouble. The area Alf and his men were in was open and there was no place to hide. Very fierce fire from German guns was sweeping across the ground that they were in. But Alf was described as magnificent in rallying his men, personally killing several German soldiers with his Bren, which was a light machine gun, as they tried to attack, stopping the most determined part of the counterattack. They were ordered to move to more cover, but as they did, an SP gun, which was a small tank, moved close to them, stopping them. But Alf moved forward and helped his men by firing his gun in a continuous hail of bullets and encouraging them to move through. Alf did not stop until all his men were safe, only then getting to safety himself. The record says, his exemplary bravery and example were superb and was a great tonic to his comrades. He never gave a thought for himself and worked throughout this critical period in a most praiseworthy manner. His heroic action undoubtedly saved what was a critical situation becoming worse. He was awarded the military medal, the only person in Middlewich to get this in World War II. 5 days after this battle, the war in Europe ended. This became known as VE Day.